We've been conditioned not to trust our own common sense anymore, which is why we so often need studies to confirm the obvious. But most of us don't trust studies either, and for good reason in most cases. So that's not much help. But here's one study that I think we can take to the bank, so to speak. There's a pun there, which will make more sense as we proceed. Reading now from an article on the Institute for Family Studies website, written by Rosemary L. Hopcroft, which sounds like a character in an Agatha Christie novel, and I don't mean that as an insult. She writes, quote, "In 21st century America, over half of all married couples are dual-earner families, and men are no longer expected to be the sole source of financial support for their families. It seems, therefore, that possession of means would no longer matter as much for men's marriage prospects, while at the same time it may matter more for women's marriage prospects. Yet my new research, published in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior, shows that possession of means still matters when it comes to marriage and family formation for men, but not for women. In other words, men are going to have an easier time getting married if they have money, but for women, it doesn't matter much one way or another." Continuing, it says, "For men, as income increases, the probability of marriage also increases, such that men in the highest income category are about 57 percentage points more likely to marry than men in the lowest income category. The same is not true for women. High-income men are more likely than low-income men to marry, while income is unrelated to marriage for women. Given that marriage involves choice on both the man and the woman's part, these results suggest that women are more likely to choose to marry men with good financial prospects, while a woman's financial prospects are less important to men when choosing a marriage partner." Now, every broke single guy listening to this right now is certainly well aware of this dynamic, all too familiar with it. But again, these days we need this kind of research to tell us what we already know, though many of us have chosen to pretend we don't know it. A little more from the article. It says, "Not only are high-income men more likely to marry, they're more likely to stay married too. Figure 2, talking about the chart, shows the probability of divorce for those who have been married at least once and reveals that for men, the probability of divorce declines as income rises, such that men in the highest income category are about 37 percentage points less likely to divorce than men in the lowest income category. For women, the probability of divorce increases as income rises, perhaps mostly due to reverse causality and the fact that divorced women are more likely to have to support themselves financially. For men, the results suggest that women are more likely to divorce low-income men than high-income men." Now, the cynical interpretation of all of this is that women are materialistic and superficial. And some women are, just like some men are, but that doesn't explain these trends. Generally speaking, as the study demonstrates and thousands of years of human experience confirms, women are looking for stability. They're looking for a provider. They value ambition. They value work ethic in a man. And that's anything but superficial to value those things. On the other hand, men simply, for the most part, don't care about a woman's career ambitions. They don't want a lazy bump on a log either, but they value and are attracted to a different sort of energy and ambition in women. I've said before that my wife is extremely talented, has many skills, more skills than I have, and is quite ambitious, but she doesn't have a professional career. She parents ambitiously. She mothers ambitiously. She pours her energy into her family. She has many creative talents and always finds different outlets for them. Sometimes she'll find outlets that earn money, sometimes not. But the money doesn't really matter to me. I didn't marry her in hopes that she would provide an income for me. No man gets married for that reason. Even men who are married to working women, as plenty are, still didn't choose those women because of their income potential. Women hopefully aren't choosing men solely on income, but the man's ability to provide for his family will be a major factor in her decision. For men, it's just not. Men are not thinking about that. They're not thinking when they're with a woman and thinking about marriage, not that, well, she would do great at providing an income for the family. If they think that she can, they may see that as a bonus, but they're not making decisions based on that. And it also doesn't mean, by the way, that low-income single men are out of luck. A woman is also assessing potential. So even if you aren't making much money now, she might still consider you an excellent match if she sees that you work hard and have aspirations and the drive to achieve them. Women are good at this, by the way. They have a natural intuition about these sorts of things. A good wife will often have a clearer idea of her husband's career potential than he does. She can anticipate his future success, even if his predictions about his own future are far more modest than hers. What this all means, boiled down, is that men and women are different, and they want different things. Our cultural institutions have spent years and decades trying to collapse these two categories into one ambiguous, indistinguishable mess And yet, in spite of that, still these fundamental differences remain. Girls are told from a young age, I mean, it's hammered into their heads, that they shouldn't look to men to be providers. And boys are told that they shouldn't see themselves in that role. And yet, both groups gravitate this way anyway. Attempts are made to evade these differences, get around them, and most of these attempts end in disaster. I mean, note how a woman's likelihood of divorce increases as her income increases, while the trend is exactly the opposite for men. And that's because women are attracted to men who provide. So if he pours himself into that role as provider, the woman's attraction will grow stronger and deeper. Of course, some men can go too far. They prioritize their careers over their families, and many divorces have happened as a result of that. But as long as he's putting his family first and valuing his job in large part because he values his family and takes his provider role seriously, then it should only strengthen his marriage. Yet a woman who invests herself more and more into her career is not going to find that it has the same positive effect on her marriage necessarily, because her husband doesn't fundamentally see her as a provider. He may support her career, but he doesn't find her career ambition attractive in the same way that a woman does for a man. And there are a lot of men who are listening to this right now and feel like they have to disagree with me and say, no, it's not true. My wife is a very ambitious in her career and a great businesswoman, and I just find it so sexy and attractive. No, you don't. Not really. I mean, you're saying that because you think you have to, but you don't really. Again, thousands and thousands of years of human behavior tell us the truth here. And also, if the woman becomes more successful in her career than the man is in his, it can lead to resentment because the man will begin to feel that he has no essential role, that he's no longer necessary. This is not me prescribing how things should be. I'm just describing how they are and always have been. We've been conditioned to recoil from the notion of gender roles. The term almost always is used in a pejorative way now. But at their root, gender roles were never rules. It wasn't society saying what men and women should do or must do. Gender roles were our way of categorizing what men and women already naturally tend to do. And it's good to have a grasp on that, because without it, couples go into marriage not sure what to do or what their role should be. Invariably, they end up stepping on each other's toes, competing with, rather than complementing each other. This is why it's good to have a healthy understanding of and respect for traditional gender roles, quote unquote, even if you're going to do something different in your own family. It's good to know what the original recipe is before you come up with your variation of it. What happens these days is that both the man and the woman stand in the kitchen, dumping all kinds of competing ingredients into the bowl, mixing it together, and the end result is confused and weird and rarely successful. And that's the result of trying to deny what we all inherently know to be true. So who are we canceling today? We're not canceling gender roles, because those can't be canceled, not completely. Instead, I guess this is another reverse cancellation. We're canceling the people who have tried to cancel the gender roles, because that's just never actually going to work. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with all your friends.